All right, everybody, welcome back. We are looking at a brand new watch again today. This is the Mr. Jones Perfectly Useless Afternoon. And I've gone ahead and just surrounded it with all my books on Stoicism because Mr. Jones Watch Company is a pretty stoic watch company. Their first watch model that kind of took off was their Remember You Will Die watch, the Accurate. And in fact, I went ahead and engraved my watch, which you can see here right in the middle. So it's not really a book on Stoicism necessarily, but it's a quote that I really like. And it's by this author, Richard Carlson, Dr. Richard Carlson. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff, and it's just simple ways to keep all the little things from taking over your life. I thought it was a very appropriate quote for this type of watch, and you'll see why here in just a minute. Pretty interesting box. The Good Horologist, Balanced Thoughts, Concentric Harmony, Indispensable Pivots. Just an interesting artistic thing. You don't see all that often. Setting the watch box down. Kind of opens like that, designed by Kristof Devos. You see there. It even tells you a little bit about him. So he's a children's book author. And last week I was listening to the Superlative Podcast by A Blog to Watch, and it was the episode with Kristof Devos on there. And he was talking about his designs and working with Mr. Jones, and I was getting, pretty impressed with everything. And then at the very end of the podcast, he tells a story about, why he writes about the subjects he writes about and why he designed this watch the way he did it. And it was a very stoic thing. I mean, he went through kind of a traumatic incident, a car crash with a friend, and thought about that exact line of thinking, the stoic, remember you will die, life is short type thing. And it's just a subject that he writes about now. And this design was clear inspiration from that. So as soon as I heard the story and listened to the podcast, which if you haven't listened to the Superlative Podcast, I highly recommend it. It's an excellent, excellent podcast. But as soon as I heard it, I literally just went to the website and ordered this immediately. And to Mr. Jones' credit, I got the watch 2 days later with the engraving on the back. So literally ordered it, I think Sunday night, and I got it on Tuesday. And it's, I live on the west coast of the US, and Mr. Jones is based out of the UK. So fairly impressive. I just wanted to highlight a couple things. So obviously this is the Perfectly Useless Afternoon. That's what the watch is called. You see that up there. And the quote goes, if you can spend a perfectly useless afternoon in a perfectly useless manner, you have learned how to live. Totally agree with that. And he said, one of the ways I love wasting time is by floating around with my eyes closed, just letting the water be my guide. Kind of go with the flow, laissez-faire. So yeah, really, really interesting watch. Really respect the designer, Kristof Devos, for what he came up with here. And obviously, Mr. Jones, Crispin Jones here, probably is really appreciative that Kristof reached out to him and offered to design a watch, because I think this lines up very nicely within kind of the ethos of Mr. Jones watches. So we'll go ahead and pull it out of the box and take a look at everything we got here. And I'll quit my ranting about Stoicism, but if you are interested in Stoicism at all, Ryan Holiday is probably the biggest Stoic author. Anything about Marcus Aurelius, honestly, is a great place to start. And then obviously that Don't Sweat the Small Stuff book is one of my favorites. So I got the watch out. I'm going to go ahead and take the plastic off, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I got the bracelet size, super easy to do. And that is our wrist roll. So again, this is not my favorite type of strap, but it's pretty common. You see this a lot. I saw it on my Reef Tiger video. Again, not my favorite, this Milanese type mesh bracelet, but for what it is, it works, and it is keeping the cost down and making the watch more affordable, which I think is more of the point, because obviously these are art statements and art pieces designed to create conversation at a party or an event or whatever. So yeah, I like the look of it. It wears well. So this is sapphire crystal and stainless steel case. Obviously a stainless steel pressed on case back here, not a screw down or anything like that, but made in London by Mr. Jones Watches. And of course my engraving there that only cost me £10. It's a cool little watch. And we got quick release spring bars here. So it is really easy. If I have a silicone strap that comes in and fits this watch, I'll just throw that bad boy on. And there we go. Through the magic power of video editing, I have the yellow silicone strap installed. Did not come with the watch. I had to order it separately from the Mr. Jones website. But I really like it, and I think it suits the watch a little bit better. It plays off the colors of the dial there. I think this is the one I'm going to go with. I'm just going to put the mesh strap back in the box. So I'm sure that the macro shots and wrist shots you're going to see throughout the video are going to be on this strap. This one's just a lot more, I think, aesthetically pleasing with the watch, and I think more my style. And speaking of the dial, we haven't even really talked about that yet, but you can read time on this watch. The individual there sitting on their little inner tube, the leg extension is the hour hand. So right now it is 6 p.m. And then the little rubber ducky is the minute. So right now it is just before 6:45, so probably about 6:42 or so. And there's no seconds hand, which is fine. I think the whole point of the watch, again, is just to kind of relax, and you can read the time if you want. It's nice that they did put in little hour markers on this chapter ring. So yeah, definitely actually a pretty legible watch as far as an art piece goes. The other thing worth noting about this watch is that they use plastic discs. So you'll notice if I turn the watch a little bit that there's depth to every little layer here. So the actual dial surface itself is one layer, and then the way that they get the minute and hours to move around is they're basically just printed onto a disc that rotates kind of like a minute or hour hand would. And that's how they are able to get the whole inner tube guy all the way around the dial. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I haven't seen that since probably the 90s on much cheaper Timex watches, but a really cool concept that it's nice to see come back into the industry. So I'm going to give you some indoor shots here on the strap, but as well, I, as usual, will throw some outdoor shots in the video. Some additional things about this watch, in case you're curious, there is a $700 automatic version that has a Swiss movement inside. Although you're not going to be able to do any engraving on the back of the watch, it does have a see-through case back from the one that I saw. But if you're interested, they do have it in automatic as well. In my opinion, although there is the automatic version, the Quartz model is my preference. I think the entire ethos and idea behind this model is being a perfectly useless afternoon. It is supposed to make you kind of just relax and not think about it so much. And that's kind of Quartz, right? That's what Quartz is supposed to be. You throw it on, you don't have to set the time, you don't have to wind it, you don't have to do anything. It's just, you don't think about it. You just throw it on, it's very casual. I think Quartz makes a lot of sense for the philosophy of the watch. And this isn't really a watch that I'm going to compare to anything else because it really can't be compared. It is really art, and art is in the eye of the beholder, as they say. I quite like it. I think it's a really interesting piece. I think it will get some attention, and it will remind me, about all the principles of Stoicism and about that book by Dr. Richard Carlson. Don't sweat the small stuff. Life is stressful. Work is hard. People are mean. Don't sweat the small stuff. Get this watch and just have a perfectly useless afternoon. That's totally fine. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next one.